we have here is a 1965 Plymouth Satellite. The 65 was the first year of the Satellite. It was Plymouth's entry, I guess, into the sports luxury market. I think, similar to the Nova, Monte Carlo, if that was a 65. I'm not sure what Ford products there were, but two-door, hardtop, exclusively V8s. Standard was the 273 small block, and a quite well-appointed interior. Console, this one's an automatic. Bucket seats, and these are remarkably comfortable. This is a 65, and I've got a 67, and these are more comfortable than that. They're bolstered a little bit better. They hold you nicely. The posture is good. The reach to the steering wheel is great. You reach to the shifter's fine. Gold two-tone interior, as you can see. Electric windows. It's got a dash clock. It's got tinted glass, which is probably hard to tell right here. So as you can see, the 65 Satellite retains the reverse C-pillar, that back pillar that has the vinyl roof on it, from the 64. So coming off of the horrible sales years in 62 and 63, Chrysler had not a lot of money to spend on new styling. So from the firewall back, this is a 1964 Fury, Belvedere if you will. So that sheet metal's all the same from 64 to 65. What they did change was some of the trim. The rear tail lights. They took off a lot of the side trim, but the front was new. So in 65, Chrysler went back to their traditional A body, B body, C body, or the three different body sizes, wheelbases. And I shouldn't say they went back to it. That was new. They sort of started this designation A, B, and C body. It became more formalized in 66. But from the firewall back, this is a 1964 Plymouth Fury / Belvedere. So the Satellite comes off of the Belvedere line. It's a mid-size. Wheelbase, darn, is it 106 or 108? I forget. I think the Dodge might have been 108, and the Plymouth's 106. This particular car is just fresh out of a 6-year restoration. It did all the grunt work myself, but had the body done by Charlie McDermott in Westerlo, and had the engine tuned and rebuilt by Hunt's Machine on Broadway in Schenectady, New York, which is right where we live. So the Plymouth Satellites came exclusively with V8s. There was the 273, the 318, and then 361 big block, a 383 big block, and the 426 was the biggest you could get in this. The 413, I think, was reserved for the big C bodies. You couldn't get that even if it was 1965. So this one happens to be, let's take a look at the hood ornament. This happens to be a 361, which is Chrysler's smallest big block. It's the same block as the 383. And this one has air conditioning. I switched the master cylinder over to a single, from a single to a dual circuit. It's got a reproduction battery, but everything else is original with the car. I simply, took it apart, or cleaned it, stripped it, repainted it, refinished it, replated it, whatever. Some of the things are the same, like the cap. I just decided I wanted to keep some of the patina of an older car in this. The rubber, a lot of this stuff is original. A lot of the clips are original. Unfortunately, the debris in the radiator isn't original, but so little modifications like the volt regulator and the shocks and things like that are new, but that's typical maintenance stuff. This engine came equipped with air conditioning. It came with electric windows, came with tinted windows, as we said before, tinted glass. There's a dash clock. What else? Bumper guards. That's an option for this car. It came out of Los Angeles, California. The car was bought new in November 1964. It was ordered by the Anschuler family. The husband was an attorney. I think this was the wife's car. Her name was Bertha. So I think we'll name the car Bertha in her memory. Unfortunately, she passed away just about 6 months after I acquired the car and before I had a chance to find the original owners. I have the window sticker, the order sheet, the dealer invoice, $3,975, discounted to $3,800. That's on par with the Mercedes of that era. Granted, Mercedes were not quite as luxurious a product as they are branded today, but for the air conditioning alone, it was like $400 on this car. Let's take a look inside. Like I said before, it's pretty comfortable. There are two-tone gold seats. It doesn't have a stereo installed, but it will at some point. This was intended to be a nice family driver car, so the air conditioning will be recommissioned. Those doors sound like as solid as a Mercedes. There's the electric clock, ventilation controls, decent set of gauges, Chrysler's ammeter. And let's see, over on this side, this is where the 64s had their push-button transmissions, but people really didn't latch onto that. It wasn't just considered a driving experience that people desired. This is just a simple mirror. There's no tinting to it. There's no day-night option. Interior courtesy lights, electric window switches, pile carpet, loop pile as it were, and an AM radio. No FM, not on this one. There's the air conditioning control, which you can switch all the way over to that. If there was a tack, it would be here in the center console. And an ashtray with, with the cigarette lighter to it. So the car is restored stock, same engine, 2-barrel carburetor. It's called a Commando because it's a big block. A lot of times Chrysler or Plymouth engines were called Commando with the 4-barrel or an HP, but in '65 the Commando designation was simply a big block, 2-barrel or 4-barrel. Modifications to this car have been a front sway bar from Firm Feel. I'm gonna keep the steel rims on it. I'm gonna get a slightly wider set. These are full 5-inch, 14-inch radius rims. I'm gonna go with 14-inch 6.5. So it's actually a Ford steel rim, but it offers a little bit of a wider tire. I also have the fittings for a rear sway bar underneath it, but right now the exhaust pipes are just in the way, so I'm going to have Broadway Muffler over in Schenectady rebend them so that they're out of the way of a rear sway bar. I took the white walls here, turned them inwards. I think I just like the look a little bit better. It keeps the car much less fussy looking, in my opinion. With the Satellite being styled without a lot of side trim, it keeps it kind of clean looking, in my opinion. It does have this stainless steel rocker molding down the bottom, which for this car is in remarkably good shape. I've had the good fortune of having access to some really good junkyards. Ron McNeil's in Greenwich. Where else? Waite's Garage in Wynantskill. They actually have a '65 Satellite in there. So some of the stainless trim I got from there. The bumpers have been re-chromed. And it's just a great driving car. When I bought it, it had been in Massachusetts in a garage for 20 years in Jamaica Plains, right as part of Boston, basically. And through a friend of a friend, heard that I'm a kind of guy that really likes Plymouth Satellites. I have a '67 big block convertible as well. But this friend contacted me and said, hey, I know this guy with a '65 Satellite down at my grandpa's in Delhi, New York. He had basically bought the car from his family's estate in Jamaica Plains where the car had been sitting. Turns out he was more of a Pontiac guy, so he contacted me through a friend and said, hey, I'm interested in getting rid of the car. I heard you really like Satellites. It's a family car, so I'd love to see it restored. And here we are 6 years later, and I actually owe him a visit. His name is Doug Williams, down just north of Delhi, New York, down Route 10. So I drove down, took a look at the car, and he said the price, and I said that's a great deal. The car was running and perfectly intact. It had an SS1 ivory enamel paint. This one is the same color, but it's metallic. Charlie McDermott said, geez, it's a shame to do all this work to the body and get it all perfect or, repaired, and then not show it off with a nice metallic paint. So we found a two-stage paint for it that is metallic. Probably a little bit hard to see from here, but it came out great. The one time that I saw the sample that Charlie sprayed, it was on a gray, overcast day, so it looked a little dreary, but it really sparkles in the sunlight, and the warmth of the ivory in the paint comes out really well, I think. Now we'll take it for a drive, just a short one, and we'll mount the camera inside so you get to see the feel of it.
Stop this little game that you are playing.